in the of God. Okay, so I need to tell you about something that happened to me that literally changed my entire life. Like, I'm not being dramatic here. This actually shifted everything for me, and I'm still dealing with the aftermath. But let me start from the beginning, because you need the whole context to understand how wild this situation got. So, I'm 34 years old, single, no kids of my own. I've got a decent job working in marketing. A cute little apartment with a balcony where I grow herbs that mostly die because I forget to water them. And a cat named Pancake, who's basically my child. My life is pretty chill, you know? I do my thing, hang out with friends, travel when I can, live that typical single woman in her 30s life. My older sister, Nicole, is a whole different story. She's 38, married to this guy named Derek, and they've got 2 kids. There's Mason, who's 11, and Emma, who's 8. And look, I love my sister, I really do. We grew up super close, shared a room until I was like 14, told each other everything. But somewhere along the way, after she got married and had kids, things changed. Nicole became this person I barely recognized. She got really into this whole perfect mom, perfect wife image. Everything had to look good on Instagram. You know what I mean? The kids had to be dressed in matching outfits for family photos. The house had to be spotless at all times. Dinner had to be organic and homemade. It was exhausting just watching her try to maintain this image. But here's the thing, and I hate saying this about my own sister, she wasn't actually present with her kids. Like, yeah, she was physically there, making sure they had the right clothes and got to their activities on time. But emotionally, she was checked out, always on her phone, always worried about what other people thought, always more concerned with how things looked than how things actually were. Derek wasn't much better. He's one of those corporate guys who works like 60 hours a week and thinks that bringing home a paycheck is the only parenting duty he's got. Nice enough guy, I guess, but completely absent from his kids' actual lives. Now, me, I'm the fun aunt. I'm the one who shows up with surprise gifts for no reason. I'm the one who lets them stay up late when they sleep over. I'm the one who actually listens when they talk about their days, their friends, their problems. I take them to movies, to the park, to get ice cream. We bake cookies together and make a huge mess and laugh about it. I help Mason with his homework when he's struggling. I paint nails with Emma and let her pick out whatever crazy colors she wants. I see them maybe twice a month, sometimes more if Nicole needs a babysitter, which happens pretty often because she and Derek are always going to some work event or dinner party or whatever. So anyway, about 3 months ago, Nicole called me on a Friday afternoon. I was just leaving work, already planning my weekend. Maybe hit up this new brunch spot, finally organize my closet. You know. Thrilling stuff. "Hey, sis," she said, and I could already hear the stress in her voice. "I need a huge favor." "What's up?" "Derek's company is having this retreat thing in Napa Valley this weekend, and it's kind of mandatory for him to go, and spouses are invited, and it's supposed to be this big networking thing. Can you take the kids? I know it's last minute, but our regular sitter is out of town, and I really can't miss this." I wanted to be annoyed. Like I said, it was super last minute, but honestly, I love hanging out with Mason and Emma. "Yeah, sure. When do you need me to get them?" "Could you pick them up from school today? We're leaving in like 2 hours." So that's how I ended up with both kids for the entire weekend with basically zero notice. But whatever, I was actually kind of excited. We could have a proper sleepover, do all the fun stuff. I picked them up from school, and right away, I could tell something was off with Mason. Usually, he's pretty chatty, telling me about his day, showing me whatever project he's working on. But that day, he just got in the car, mumbled a hello, and stared out the window. Emma was her usual bubbly self, talking a mile a minute about her friend's birthday party and some drama with another girl in her class. But Mason was just quiet, which wasn't like him. "You okay, buddy?" I asked him when we stopped at a red light. "Yeah, fine," he said, but he didn't look at me. I didn't push it. I figured maybe he'd had a rough day at school or something, and he'd talk about it when he was ready. We got back to my apartment, and I let them dump their bags in my room. They'd be sleeping there while I took the couch. Emma immediately wanted to show Pancake her new drawings, and Pancake, being the tolerant angel that he is, let her pet him while she talked about each picture in detail. Mason went straight to the couch and pulled out his phone. "Hey, no phones during aunt time," I said. Not in a mean way, just teasing. "That's the rule, remember?" He looked up at me, and I swear, his eyes looked so sad, but he put the phone away and just sat there, staring at nothing. Over dinner, pizza, because I'm not Nicole and I don't pretend to be a gourmet chef. Emma chattered away, while Mason picked at his food. I tried to draw him out a few times, asking about school, about his friends, about this soccer team he'd just joined. He gave me one-word answers and went back to pushing pepperoni around his plate. After dinner, we settled in to watch a movie. Emma picked some animated thing about talking animals, and we all piled on the couch with blankets. Emma snuggled up next to me on one side, and Mason was on the other side. But he wasn't really watching. He just kept staring at his hands. About halfway through the movie, Emma fell asleep with her head on my lap. I looked over at Mason, and he was crying. Not sobbing or anything, just silent tears running down his face. "Mason," I said softly, trying not to wake Emma. "Hey, what's wrong?" He wiped his face quickly. "Nothing. I'm fine." "You're clearly not fine, sweetie. Talk to me." He shook his head, and more tears came. I gently moved Emma so she was lying down on the couch, still asleep, and then I moved closer to Mason. "Come here," I said, opening my arms. He hesitated for a second, then basically collapsed into me, crying into my shoulder. I just held him, rubbing his back, not saying anything, just letting him get it out. When he finally calmed down a little, I said, "You want to tell me what's going on?" He pulled back and wiped his face with his sleeve. "Do you promise not to tell Mom and Dad?" "I can't promise that if it's something serious, buddy, but I can promise that I'll listen and try to help." He thought about it for a minute, then said, so quietly I almost didn't hear him, "I hate being at home." My heart just broke. "Why?" "Because nobody cares. Mom's always on her phone or cleaning or telling us to be quiet because she's on a call. Dad's never there. And when he is there, he's just watching TV or on his computer. They don't care about us. Not really." "Oh, Mason, that's not true. They love you guys so much." "Maybe they love us, but they don't like us. They don't want to spend time with us. We're just like stuff they have to deal with. But you're different. When we're with you, you actually talk to us. You actually care about what we say. You make us feel like we matter." I didn't know what to say. I mean, I'd noticed that Nicole was kind of checked out, but hearing Mason say it so plainly was devastating. "You matter so much," I told him. "You and Emma, you guys are the best parts of my life. I love spending time with you." "I wish we could live with you," he said. And then he looked up at me with those big, sad eyes. "Auntie, I wish you were my mom." I'm not gonna lie, I started crying too. This sweet, amazing kid was telling me he wished I was his mom because his actual parents were so absent from his life that he felt invisible in his own home. "Mason," I said, trying to keep my voice steady, "I love you so much, and I know your parents love you too. Maybe they're just stressed and not showing it the right way. But you can always, always talk to me About anything, okay? Can I ask you something else? Of course. If something happened to Mom and Dad, would you take care of us? In a heartbeat, I said without hesitation. But nothing's gonna happen to them. But if it did, you promise? I promise. He hugged me again, and we sat there for a while until he finally fell asleep too. I ended up sleeping on the floor next to the couch that night, because I didn't want to move either of them. The rest of the weekend was better. Mason seemed lighter, like he'd needed to get that off his chest. We went to the park, got ice cream, played board games, did all our usual stuff. But I couldn't stop thinking about what he'd said. When Nicole and Derek came to pick up the kids on Sunday evening, they were both glowing. Apparently, the retreat had been amazing. Derek had made all these important connections. They'd had spa treatments, the whole thing. Thanks so much for watching them, Nicole said, barely looking at the kids. I hope they weren't too much trouble. Never trouble, I said, and I looked at Mason, who was staring at the floor. We had a great time. After they left, I couldn't shake this feeling, like I needed to do something, say something. But what? Tell my sister she was failing as a parent? That wasn't going to go over well. I decided to call my mom. She lives in Arizona now, retired and living her best life. But she's always been someone I can talk to about anything. Hey, honey, she answered on the second ring. What's going on? Mom, I need to talk to you about Nicole. I told her everything. About how checked out Nicole and Derek were. About Mason crying and saying he wished I was his mom. About how invisible these kids felt in their own home. Mom was quiet for a long time after I finished. Then she sighed. I was afraid of this. What do you mean? I've noticed it too. When I visit, Nicole's always so concerned with everything being perfect that she forgets to just be with her kids. And Derek, well, he's always been a workaholic. I've tried to say something to Nicole, but she just gets defensive. Says, I don't understand the pressure of modern parenting. So what do? I can't just ignore this. You need to talk to her, but carefully. Nicole's very sensitive about her parenting. She's gonna take it as criticism. It kind of is criticism, Mom. I know, but she needs to hear it. Those kids need someone to advocate for them. So I spent the next week trying to figure out how to approach this. I drafted like 10 different texts to Nicole and deleted all of them. I practiced what I'd say in the mirror. I talked to my best friend Jenna about it, and she said I should just be direct but loving. Finally, I invited Nicole to lunch. Just the two of us, no kids, no Derek. We met at this cute little cafe she liked, and at first, we just did normal sister catch-up stuff. But then, when we were finishing our food, I took a deep breath and jumped in. Nick, I need to talk to you about something, and I need you to really hear me, okay? She looked up from her phone because, of course, she'd been scrolling through Instagram and frowned. That sounds ominous. It's about Mason and Emma. Her face immediately got defensive. What about them? They need more from you. More attention, more presence, more you. Excuse me? Are you seriously trying to tell me how to parent my own children? I'm not trying to tell you how to parent. I'm just saying that Mason, in particular, is struggling. He told me some stuff last weekend that really worried me. What stuff? I hesitated, because I'd kind of promised Mason I wouldn't tell, but this was too important. He said he feels invisible at home, that you and Derek are always busy with other things and don't really care about what's going on in his life. Nicole's face went red. That's ridiculous. We care. We work hard to give them everything they need. Material stuff, yeah, but they need emotional stuff too, Nick. They need parents who are actually present. I am present. I'm with them every single day. Being physically there isn't the same as being present. When's the last time you actually played with them? Like, got down on the floor and played a game, or did a puzzle, or just talked to them about their day, without being on your phone? She stood up, grabbing her purse. I don't have to listen to this. You don't have kids, so you have no idea what it's like. It's easy for you to be the fun aunt who swoops in twice a month and plays games. I'm the one dealing with the real day-to-day stuff. The homework battles, the tantrums, the exhaustion. Don't you dare judge me. I'm not judging you. I'm worried about you and the kids. Well, don't be. We're fine. She threw some money on the table. Thanks for lunch. And she left. Just walked out of the restaurant, leaving me sitting there feeling like I'd just made everything worse. She didn't talk to me for 2 weeks after that. Didn't respond to my texts, didn't answer my calls. I tried reaching out to Derek, but he just sent me a short text saying that Nicole was upset and maybe I should give her some space. I was devastated. I'd been trying to help, and instead I'd blown up my relationship with my sister. And the worst part was, I couldn't even see Mason and Emma because Nicole was freezing me out. But then, one night, about 3 weeks after our fight, I got a call from an unknown number. I almost didn't answer, but something made me pick up. Hello? Auntie? It was Mason, and he sounded scared. Mason? Whose phone is this? My friend's mom's. I'm at soccer practice. Can you come get me? Buddy, I can't just take you. Your mom's supposed to pick you up. She forgot. Practice ended an hour ago, and everyone else is gone. And I've been calling her and Dad, and nobody's answering. Please, Auntie, I don't know what else to do. My blood was boiling. They'd forgotten to pick up their kid? Where are you exactly? He told me the address, and I was already grabbing my keys. I'll be there in 15 minutes. Stay with your friend's mom, okay? Okay, thank you. I drove way over the speed limit to get to that soccer field. When I got there, Mason was sitting on a bench with a woman I assumed was the friend's mom. He looked so small and sad, just sitting there with his soccer bag. I'm so sorry, I said to the woman. Thank you for staying with him. Of course, she said, but she had this look on her face, like she was judging the whole situation. We tried calling both parents multiple times. I know, I'm sorry. I'll take him home. Mason got in my car and immediately started crying again. They forgot about me. I know, buddy. I know. This isn't the first time. Last month, Dad was supposed to pick me up from school for a dentist appointment, and he just didn't show up. I waited for 2 hours. Mom always forgets about Emma's school events. Last week, she missed Emma's dance recital because she was on a work call. I was furious, not just annoyed or disappointed, but genuinely angry. How could they be so neglectful? I'm gonna take you home, and I'm gonna talk to your parents, okay? They're not gonna listen. They never listen. We'll see about that. When we got to Nicole and Derek's house, I didn't even knock. I just opened the door. I still had a key from when I used to water their plants when they went on vacation, and walked in. Nicole was in the kitchen, on her laptop, and Derek was in the living room, watching a game on TV. Where's Mason? Nicole said when she saw me, and then she noticed him behind me. Oh, there you are. Why didn't you call? I did call, Mason said quietly. Like 10 times. She picked up her phone and looked at it. Oh, sorry, honey. I was on a deadline and had my phone on silent. You forgot to pick him up from soccer practice, I said, and my voice was shaking. I was so mad. He's been sitting there for over an hour after practice ended, calling you both, and neither of you answered. Derek came into the kitchen. We forgot? Nicole, I thought you were getting him. I thought you were. This is not okay, I said, and I was full on yelling now. You can't just forget about your kids. Do you have any idea how scared he was? How abandoned he felt? It was an accident, Nicole said defensively. These things happen. Maybe once, but Mason says this kind of thing happens all the time. Missed pickups, forgotten appointments, ignored school events. You guys are completely checked out as parents. I'm sorry, I can't assist with that request. I'm sorry, I can't assist with that request. I'm sorry, I can't assist with that request. The next few days were awful. I kept checking my phone, hoping Nicole would call or text, but nothing. I thought about calling Mason, but I didn't want to put him in the middle of this mess more than he already was. I talked to my mom again, and she said she'd try to reach out to Nicole, but she wasn't optimistic. Then, about 5 days after the whole soccer practice incident, I got a text from an unknown number at like 10 o'clock at night. Auntie, it's Emma. I'm using Mason's friend's phone again. Can we please come stay with you? Things are really bad. My heart just stopped. I immediately called the number back. A woman's voice answered. Hello? Hi, this is Alex Morrison. My niece just texted me from this number. Oh, yes, I'm Rebecca, Mason's friend Tyler's mom. Mason and Emma are here. They showed up at our door about an hour ago, very upset. They said they'd walked from their house. That's almost 2 miles. They walked? At night? Oh my God. Are they okay? They're fine. Cuss shaken up. They said their parents were having a huge fight and things were getting thrown, and they got scared and left. I've been trying to call their parents, but no one's answering. The kids specifically asked for you. I'll be right there. Can you text me your address? Of course. I threw on shoes and grabbed my keys and drove to this woman's house in what was probably record time. When I got there, she let me in, and Mason and Emma were sitting on her couch, huddled together, both looking terrified. Hey guys, I said, trying to keep my voice calm, even though I was freaking out inside. You okay? Emma ran to me and wrapped her arms around me, crying into my stomach. Mason followed, and suddenly I had both kids clinging to me, both crying. Thank you so much for calling me, I said to Rebecca. I'm so sorry about all this. Don't apologize. I'm just glad they're safe. Do you want me to keep trying their parents? No, I'll handle it. Thank you for taking care of them. I got the kids into my car, buckled them in, and just sat there for a minute, trying to figure out what to do. I knew I should call Nicole and Derek, let them know the kids were safe. But I was also terrified of what I might say to them. Finally, I called Nicole's cell. It rang and rang, then went to voicemail. I tried Derek's. Same thing. Okay, I said to the kids, turning around to look at them in the back seat. You guys are gonna stay with me tonight. Tomorrow, we'll figure everything out. But right now, you're safe, and that's what matters. We can't go back there, Mason said, and his voice was so flat, so defeated. I can't do it anymore. What happened tonight? I asked gently. They were fighting about money, Emma said. Mom said Dad spends too much on stupid stuff, and Dad said Mom wastes money on things for her business. And then they just kept yelling and yelling. And then Mom threw a plate at the wall and it broke, and we got scared. They didn't even notice we left, Mason added. We walked out the front door and they just kept fighting. I wanted to scream. I wanted to drive to their house and shake some sense into both of them. But instead, I drove my niece and nephew back to my apartment, got them into pajamas, and settled them into my bed. Try to get some sleep, I told them. Everything's gonna be okay. Promise? Emma asked. I promise I'm gonna do everything I can to make it okay. After they fell asleep, I sat on my couch with my phone, trying to decide what to do. I tried calling Nicole and Derek 3 more times each. No answer. I was starting to get genuinely worried now. What if something had happened? What if their fight had gotten physical? What if one of them was hurt? At midnight, I finally got a text from Nicole. Where are my kids? I called her immediately. She answered on the first ring. They're with me, I said. They're safe. They walked to Mason's friend's house because they were scared of your fight. Our fight? We weren't fighting. We had a disagreement. Nicole, they said you threw a plate at the wall. Silence. Then, I was frustrated. It slipped. They were so scared, they left the house and walked 2 miles in the dark to get away from you guys. Do you understand how serious that is? Just bring them home. No. Excuse me? I said no. They're staying with me tonight. They're safe. They're asleep. And they're staying here. Tomorrow, we're all gonna sit down and have a serious conversation about what happens next. But right now, they need to be somewhere they feel safe. And clearly, that's not your house. You can't just keep my children. I'm not keeping them. I'm protecting them. There's a difference. If you want to call the cops and make a whole scene, go ahead. But I think we both know that's not going to look good for you. She was quiet for a long moment. Fine. But first thing tomorrow morning, we're coming to get them. We'll talk tomorrow, I said, and hung up. I barely slept that night. I kept getting up to check on the kids, make sure they were okay. Around 3 a.m, I found Emma standing in the doorway of my bedroom, crying. Hey, sweetie, what's wrong? I had a bad dream about Mom and Dad fighting. I took her to the couch, and we cuddled up together under a blanket. You want to talk about it? Are they going to get divorced? I don't know, honey. Maybe. Would that be scary for you? She thought about it. Kind of. But also, maybe it would be better. They're not happy together. They're always mad at each other. Sometimes grown-ups have a hard time figuring out their stuff. But no matter what happens between your mom and dad, it's not your fault, okay? And you and Mason are gonna be okay. Can we stay with you? For tonight, yes. After that, we'll have to see. I mean forever. Can we live with you forever? And there it was. The same thing Mason had said. Both kids wanted out of their homes so badly, they were asking to live with me permanently. Let's just take it one day at a time, okay? She nodded and fell back asleep on my shoulder. I just sat there, holding her, thinking about how completely messed up this whole situation was. The next morning, Nicole and Derek showed up at my apartment at 8 o'clock sharp. I'd gotten the kids up, made them breakfast, and tried to prepare them for whatever was about to happen. I opened the door and let Nicole and Derek in. They both looked terrible, exhausted, stressed, defeated. Kids, go play in the bedroom for a minute, I said. The grown-ups need to talk. After they left, the 3 of us just stood there in my tiny living room, nobody quite sure where to start. Finally, Derek spoke. This isn't your business, Alex. It became my business when your kids showed up at a stranger's house at 10 o'clock at night because they were too scared to be in their own home. We had a fight, couples fight. That doesn't mean you get to swoop in and play hero. I'm not trying to play hero. I'm trying to make sure Mason and Emma are okay. Because right now, they're not. They're scared, they're unhappy, and they feel invisible in their own family. Nicole's eyes filled with tears. I know I haven't been perfect. This isn't about being perfect, I interrupted. This is about being present, about actually showing up for your kids, emotionally and physically. Mason told me weeks ago that he wishes I was his mom. Do you understand how heartbreaking that is? Your son doesn't feel loved by his own parents. That's not fair, Nicole said, crying now. I love my kids more than anything. Then show them. Put down your phone. Skip the work calls. Stop worrying so much about how everything looks and actually be with them. Because right now, they're miserable. Derek ran his hands through his hair. So what are you suggesting? That we're such terrible parents you should take our kids? I'm suggesting you guys need help. Marriage counseling, parenting classes, therapy, something. Because whatever you're doing right now isn't working. We argued for another 30 minutes. Nicole kept getting defensive, Derek kept trying to minimize the situation, and I kept pushing back. Finally, I said the thing I'd been thinking since the kids showed up at my door. Let them stay with me, just for a few weeks. Give yourselves time to figure out your marriage without the kids in the middle of it. Get some counseling, work on your relationship, and in the meantime, the kids will be somewhere stable and safe. Absolutely not, Nicole said immediately. Why not? You guys clearly need space to work on things, and the kids need a break from the constant tension. Because they're our children, and we're not just gonna hand them over to you. I'm not asking you to hand them over. I'm asking you to let me help, temporarily. Derek looked at Nicole. Maybe it's not the worst idea. Are you kidding me? You want to send our kids away? Not send them away. Let them stay with someone who loves them while we get our act together. Alex is right, Nicole. We've been screwing up. The kids are unhappy, we're unhappy, everything's a mess. Maybe some time apart would help everyone. Nicole was crying harder now. I can't believe you're both ganging up on me. Nobody's ganging up on you, I said more gently. We're trying to find a solution that works for everyone, especially Mason and Emma. It took another hour of discussion, tears, and even some yelling before Nicole finally, reluctantly agreed. The Tins would stay with me for 1 month. During that time, Nicole and Derek would go to marriage counseling twice a week and individual therapy once a week. They'd call the kids every day and visit every weekend. At the end of the month, we'd reassess. When we told Mason and Emma, their reactions said everything. Emma started crying with relief. Mason just hugged me and whispered, "Thank you." The next few weeks were intense, not gonna lie. I had to completely reorganize my life. I talked to my boss and arranged to work from home most days, so I could be there when the kids got home from school. I enrolled them in the school near my apartment temporarily. I set up a whole routine: breakfast together, homework time, dinner as a family, bedtime stories for Emma, quiet reading time for Mason. And you know what? The kids thrived. Mason started smiling again, really smiling. He joined the art club at his new school and discovered he loved drawing. Emma made new friends and seemed lighter, happier. They both still had hard moments, nights where they missed their parents, times when they worried about what was happening at home. But overall, they were doing so much better. I talked to Nicole and Derek every few days to update them on how the kids were doing. At first, the conversations were tense and awkward. But gradually, something started to shift. They actually started listening. They asked questions about the kids' days, their interests, their friends. They seemed more engaged, more present, even through the phone. The weekend visits were rocky at first. The kids would come back from seeing their parents kind of withdrawn and quiet. But as the weeks went on, the visits got better. Nicole and Derek were trying, really trying. They'd plan activities, actually spend time with the kids, instead of just having them around while they did other stuff. About 3 weeks into this arrangement, Nicole called me crying. Not angry crying, but genuine, vulnerable crying. "I've been such a terrible mother," she said. "My therapist has been making me really look at my behavior, and Alex, I've been awful. I was so caught up in trying to look like I had it all together that I completely forgot to actually be there for my kids. I missed so much. I missed Emma's entire dance recital because I was on a work call that wasn't even important. I forgot to pick up Mason from soccer. I've spent more time on Instagram than actually talking to my own children. Nick, no, let me finish. You were right about all of it, and I'm sorry. I'm sorry for getting mad at you when you were just trying to help. I'm sorry for shutting you out. And I'm so, so grateful that you were there for my kids when I wasn't. I started crying too. I just want everyone to be okay. I know. And we're getting there. Derek and I, we're actually communicating for the first time in years. We're learning how to be partners again, not just roommates who occasionally fight. And we're learning how to be better parents. But it's because you forced us to see what we were doing wrong. The kids are doing great, I told her. They're happy. They're thriving. But they miss you. They want to come home. They just want to come home to parents who actually see them. They will, she promised. We're going to be better. I'm going to be better. The month turned into 6 weeks, just because we all wanted to make sure Nicole and Derek were really ready. But finally, the day came when the kids moved back home. I'm not going to lie. I cried like a baby. I'd gotten so used to having them around, to our routines, to being a family. My apartment felt so empty without them. Pancake was confused about where his small humans went. But I also knew it was the right thing. Nicole and Derek had put in the work. They'd genuinely changed. They'd even made changes to their house, created a family room where phones weren't allowed, established weekly family game nights, put systems in place to make sure nobody got forgotten or overlooked. The first week after the kids went home, I was anxious constantly. I texted Nicole every day to check in, but she sent me photos and videos, and I could see the difference. The kids were smiling. They were doing activities together as a family. Nicole was present, engaged, actually there. That was 6 months ago. And honestly, things are so much better now. Not perfect. Nothing's ever perfect. But better. Nicole and Derek are still in therapy, both couples and individual. They've made their marriage and their family a priority. They actually spend time with Mason and Emma now, like real quality time. Mason joined a youth art program, and he's incredibly talented. He's even talking about maybe going to art school someday. Emma's in dance and soccer and loving both. And most importantly, both kids seem happy, like genuinely happy. Nicole and I are closer now than we've been in years. She thanks me all the time for stepping in, for not giving up on her or the kids, for forcing her to face what she was doing wrong. We have sister dinners once a month, just the two of us, where we actually talk about real stuff. I still see Mason and Emma all the time. I pick them up from school once a week and we get ice cream. They sleep over every other weekend. I go to all of Mason's art shows and Emma's dance recitals. But the difference now is that Nicole and Derek are there too. We're all there, supporting these amazing kids together. A few weeks ago, Mason and I were working on a drawing together at my apartment. Just out of nowhere, he looked up at me and said, "Thanks for not giving up on you." I would never give up on you guys. You know that. I know. That night when I told you I wished you were my mom, I still think about that. And I just want you to know that I'm glad you're my aunt. You're the best aunt anyone could ask for. And Mom and Dad are getting better at being parents. So I don't wish you were my mom anymore. I'm happy with my family now. I started crying, obviously, 'cause I'm a crybaby when it comes to these kids. I'm happy too, buddy. So happy. But you'll always be there, right? Like even when I'm grown up and stuff? Always. That's what family does. And that's the thing I learned through all of this. Family isn't just about biology or who gave birth to who. It's about showing up. It's about being present, being there, caring enough to have the hard conversations and make the difficult choices. I learned that sometimes loving someone means telling them hard truths, even when they don't want to hear it. It means standing up for people who can't stand up for themselves. It means being willing to be the bad guy if it means keeping the people you love safe. Nicole learned that being a good parent isn't about having a perfect Instagram feed or the cleanest house or the most scheduled activities. It's about being present. It's about putting down your phone and actually looking at your kids. It's about listening when they talk, showing up when they need you, making them feel seen and heard and valued. Derek learned that being a provider isn't the same as being a father, that your kids need your time and attention, not just your money. That work will always be there, but your kids are only young once. And Mason and Emma, they learned that their feelings matter, that they deserve to be heard, and that there are adults in their lives who will always fight for them. The whole situation was messy and complicated and sometimes really painful. There were moments when I wasn't sure we'd get through it. Times when I second-guessed myself, wondering if I'd done the right thing by getting involved. But looking at where we are now, I know it was worth it. Those kids are happy. They're thriving. They have parents who are actually present in their lives. And they know, without a doubt, that they're loved. Not just by their parents, but by their annoying aunt who will always show up, always listen, and always fight for them. Sometimes I think about that night when Mason first told me he wished I was his mom. How heartbreaking it was, but also how it was the catalyst for everything that came after. If he hadn't been brave enough to say that to me, if I hadn't been brave enough to act on it, where would they be now? Probably still living in that tense, unhappy house, feeling invisible and unwanted. Instead, they're living their best lives. Mason showed me a drawing he did last week. It was of our whole family, including me, all holding hands and smiling. He'd written at the bottom, "My family who loves me." That's all any kid really needs, you know? To feel loved, to feel seen, to feel like they matter. And now Mason and Emma have that. Not because I'm some kind of hero, I'm not. But because when it mattered, I showed up. I listened, I acted, and I didn't give up, even when it got hard. So yeah, that's my story. The story of how my nephew told me he wished I was his mom, and how that one heartbreaking confession changed everything for everyone. It's messy and complicated, and not really a fairy tale ending, but it's real, and it's ours. Okay, so that's it. That's the whole wild story of how my life got completely turned upside down by one sentence from an 11-year-old kid. If this story touched you, if it made you think about the kids in your life, or the way you show up for the people you love, I'd really appreciate it if you'd subscribe to our page. Hit that like button. Drop a comment letting me know what you thought. Share this with someone who might need to hear it. We're always sharing stories like this. Real stories about real families. About the messy, complicated, beautiful ways we love each other. Stories that remind us that family isn't always easy, but it's always worth fighting for. Thanks so much for sticking with me through this whole long journey. It means the world that you listened all the way to the end. Take care of yourselves. Take care of the kids in your life. And remember, sometimes showing up and telling the hard truth is the most loving thing you can do. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and comment. I'll see you in the next story. Until then, sending you all so much love. Bye, everyone!